Hello. Welcome back to Grimm Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire. Let's turn a new page together. I don't have a camera woman today because I specifically asked her not to come. Because today is another Grimm with a capital G rating story. I knew this because I've actually read a version of this one. And so I saw the title and was like, oh no! You know? So, Grimm with a capital G, am I right? Okay, I'm sorry that there have been 2 days. 2 in a row. I'm really sorry. I don't make up the order of the stories. I just follow the book. Because that's way easier. So, I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. It's also a bit of a long one. So here we go. Without further ado, the Juniper Tree. Which makes it sound all nice and happy. But as we learned, the happier the title, the grimmer the story. Am I right? Fowlers foul! The Juniper Tree. It is now long ago, at least 2,000 years, since there was a rich man who had a beautiful and pious wife, and they loved each other dearly. They had, however, no children, though they wished for them very much, and the woman prayed for them day and night, but still they had none. Now there was a courtyard in front of their house, in which was a juniper tree, and one day in winter the woman was standing beneath it, paring herself an apple, and while she was paring herself the apple, she cut her finger, and looked at the blood, and the blood fell in the snow. "Ah," said the woman, and sighed heavily, and looked at the blood before her, and was most unhappy. "Ah! If I had but a child as red as blood and as white as snow," and while she thus spoke, she became quite happy in her mind, and felt just as if that were going to happen. Then she went into the house, and a month went by, and the snow was gone, and 2 months, and then everything was green in 3 months, and then all the flowers came out of the earth in 4 months, and then all the trees in the wood grew thicker, and the green branches were all closely entwined, and the birds sang, until the wood resounded, and the blossoms fell from the trees, and the 5th month passed away, and she stood under the juniper tree, which smelled so sweetly that her heart leapt, and she fell on her knees, and was beside herself with joy, and when the 6th month was over, the fruit was large and fine. And then she was quite still. In the 7th month she snatched at the juniper berries and ate them greedily. Then she grew sick and sorrowful. Then the 8th month passed, and she called her husband to her and wept and said, "If I die, then bury me beneath the juniper tree." Then she was quite comforted and happy until the next month was over, and then she had a child as white as snow and as red as blood. And when she saw it, she was so delighted that she died. Then her husband buried her beneath the juniper tree, and he began to weep sorely. After some time he was more at ease, and though he was still wept, he could bear it. And after some time longer he took another wife. By the second wife he had a daughter named Marlinchin. But the first wife's child was a little son, and he was as red as blood and as white as snow. When this woman looked at her daughter, she loved her very much. But then she looked at the little boy, and it seemed to cut her to the heart, for the thought came into her mind that he would always stand in her way, and she was forever thinking how she could get all the fortune for her daughter. And the evil one filled her mind with this till she quite hated the little boy, and slapped him here and cuffed him there, until the unhappy child was in continual terror. For when he came out of school, he had no peace in any place. One day the woman had gone upstairs to her room, and her little daughter went up too and said, "Mother, give me an apple." "Yes, my child," said the woman, and gave her a fine apple out of the chest. But the chest had a great heavy lid, with a great sharp iron lock. "Mother," said the little daughter, "is brother not to have one too?" This made the woman angry, but she said, "Yes, when he comes out of school." And when she saw from the window that he was coming, it was just as if the devil entered into her. And she snatched at the apple, and took it away again from her daughter, and said, "You shall not have one before your brother." Then she threw the apple into the chest and shut it. Then the little boy came in the door, and the devil made her say to him kindly, "My son, will you have an apple?" And she looked wickedly at him. "Mother," said the little boy, "how dreadful you look. Yes, give me an apple." Then it seemed to her as if she were forced to say to him, "Come with me," and she opened the lid of the chest and said, "Take out an apple for yourself." And while the little boy was stooping inside, the devil prompted her, and crash! She shut the lid down, and his head flew off and fell among the red apples. Then she was overwhelmed with terror, and thought if I could but make them think that it was not done by me. So she went upstairs to her room, to her chest of drawers, and took a white handkerchief out of the top drawer, and set the head on the neck again, and folded the handkerchief so that nothing could be seen. And she set him on a chair in front of the door, and put the apple in his hand. After this, Marlinchen came into the kitchen to her mother, who was standing by the fire with a pan of hot water before her, which she was constantly stirring round. "Mother," said Marlinchen, "brother is sitting at the door, and he looks quite white and has an apple in his hand. I asked him to give me the apple, but he did not answer me, and I was quite frightened." "Go back to him," said her mother, "and if he will not answer you, give him a box on the ear." So Marlinchen went to him and said, "Brother, give me the apple." But he was silent, and she gave him a box on the ear, on which his head fell down. Marlinchen was terrified, and began crying and screaming, and ran to her mother and said, "Alas, mother, I have knocked my brother's head off." And she wept and could not be comforted. "Marlinchen," said the mother, "what have you done? But be quiet and let no one know about it. It cannot be helped now. We will make him into black puddings." Then the mother took the little boy and chopped him in pieces and put him into the pan and made him into black puddings. But Marlinchen stood by weeping, and all her tears fell into the pan, and there was no need of any salt. Then the father came home and sat down to dinner and said, "But where is my son?" And the mother served up a great dish of black puddings, and Marlinchen wept and could not leave off. Then the father again said, "But where is my son?" "Ah," said the mother, "he has gone across the country to his mother's great uncle. He will stay there a while." "And what is he going to do there? He did not even say goodbye to me." "Oh, he wanted to go and ask me if he might stay 6 weeks. He is well taken care of there." Said the man, "I feel so unhappy. It's not right what he's done. He ought to have said goodbye to me." With that he began to eat and said, "Marlinchen, why are you crying? Your brother will certainly come back." Then he said, "Ah, wife, how delicious this food is. Give me some more." And the more he ate, the more he wanted to have. And he said, "Give me some more, and you shall have none of it. It seems to me as if it were all mine." And he ate and threw all the bones under the table until he had finished the whole. But Marlinchen went away to her chest of drawers and took her best silk handkerchief out of the bottom drawer and got all the bones from beneath the table, tied them up in her silk handkerchief, and carried them outside the door, weeping tears of blood. Then the juniper tree began to stir itself, and the branches parted and moved together again, just as someone was rejoicing and clapping his hands. At the same time, a mist seemed to arise from the tree, and in the center of this mist it burned like a fire, and a beautiful bird flew out of the fire, singing magnificently, and he flew high up in the air, and when he was gone, the juniper tree was just as it had been before, and the handkerchief with the bones was no longer there. Marlinchen, however, was as gay and happy as if her brother were still alive, and she went merrily into the house, and sat down to dinner and ate. But the bird flew away, and lighted on a goldsmith's house, and began to sing, "My mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. My sister, little Marlinchen, gathered together all my bones, tied them in a silken handkerchief, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Kai-wit, kai-wit, what a beautiful bird am I." The goldsmith was sitting in his workshop making a gold chain when he heard the bird, which was singing on his roof, and very beautiful the song seemed to him. He stood up, but as he crossed the threshold he lost one of his slippers. But he walked right up to the middle of the street with his shoe on and one sock. He had his apron on, and in one hand he had the gold chain, and in the other his pincers. And the sun was shining brightly on the street. Then he went right over and stood still and said to the bird, "Bird," said he then, "how beautifully you can sing. Sing me that piece again." "No," said the bird, "I will not sing it twice for nothing. Give me the golden chain, and then I will sing it again for you." "There," said the goldsmith, "there is the gold chain for you. Now sing me that song again." Then the bird came and took the golden chain in his right claw and went and sat in front of the goldsmith and sang, My mother, she killed me, my father, he ate me. My sister, little Marlinchen, gathered together all my bones, tied them in a silken handkerchief, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Kai wit, what a beautiful bird am I. Then the bird flew away to a shoemaker and lighted on his roof and sang, My mother, she killed me, my father, he ate me. My sister, little Marlinchen, gathered together all my bones, tied them in a silken handkerchief, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Kai wit, what a beautiful bird am I. The shoemaker heard that and ran outside before even putting on a coat, and looked up at his roof, and was forced to hold his hand before his eyes, lest the sun should blind him. Bird, said he, how beautifully you can sing. Then he called in at his door, Wife, just come outside, there's a bird, look at that bird, he can sing so well. Then he called his daughter and children and apprentices and boys and girls, and they all came up the street and looked at the bird and saw how beautiful he was. And what fine red and green feathers he had, and how real gold his neck was, and how his eyes shone like stars. Bird, said the shoemaker, now sing me that song again. Nay, said the bird, I do not sing twice for nothing. You must give me something. Wife, said the man, go to the garret. On the top shelf there stands a pair of red shoes. Bring them down. Then the wife went and brought the shoes. There, bird, said the man, now sing me that piece again. Then the bird came and took the shoes in his left claw, and flew back on the roof and sang, My mother, she killed me, my father, he ate me, my sister, little Marlinchen, gathered together all my bones, tied them in a silken handkerchief, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Kai wit, what a beautiful bird am I. And once he had sung it, he flew away. In his right claw he had the chain, and in the shoes in his left, and he flew far away to a mill, and the mill went clip-clap, 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 and in the mill sat 20 miller's men, hewing a stone and cutting hick-hack, 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 and the mill went clip-clap, clip-clap, clip-clap. Then the bird went and sat on a lime tree which stood in front of the mill and sang, My mother, she killed me. Then one of them stopped working. My father, he ate me. Then 2 more stopped working and listened to that. My sister, little Marlinchen. Then 4 more stopped, gathered together all my bones, tied them in a silken handkerchief. Now 8 only were hewing, laid them beneath, now only 5. The juniper tree, now only 1. Kai wit, what a beautiful bird am I. Then the last stopped also, and heard the last words. Bird, said he, how beautifully you sing. Let me too hear that. Sing that once more for me. Nay, said the bird, I will not sing twice for nothing. Give me the millstone, and then I will sing it again. Yes, said he, if it belonged to only me, you should have it. Yes, said the others, if he sings again, he shall have it. Then the bird came down, and the 20 millers all set to work with a beam, and raised the stone up. And the bird stuck his neck through the hole, and put the stone on it as if it were a collar. And he flew on to the tree again, and sang, My mother, she killed me, my father, he ate me, my sister, little Marlinchen, gathered together all my bones, tied them in a silken handkerchief, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Kai wit, what a beautiful bird am I. And when he was done singing, he spread his wings, and in his right claw he had the chain, and in his left the shoes, and round his neck the millstone. And he flew far away to his father's house. In the room sat the father, the mother, and Marlinchen at dinner. And the father said, How light-hearted I feel, how happy I am. Nay, said the mother, I feel so uneasy, just as if a heavy storm were coming. Marlinchen, however, sat weeping and weeping, and then came the bird flying, and it seated itself on the roof, and the father said, I feel so truly happy, and the sun is shining so beautifully outside, I feel just as if I were about to see some old friend again. Nay, said the woman, I feel so anxious, my teeth chatter, and I seem to have fire in my veins. And she tore her bodice open, but Marlinchen sat in a corner crying, and held her apron over her eyes, and cried till it was quite wet. Then the bird sat on the juniper tree and sang, My mother, she killed me. Then the mother plugged her ears and shut her eyes and would not see or hear, but there was a roaring in her ears like the most violent storm, and her eyes burned and flashed like lightning. My father, he ate me. Ah, mother, says the man, that is a beautiful bird. He sings so splendidly, and the sun shines so warm, and there is a smell just like cinnamon. My sister, little Marlinchen. Then Marlinchen laid her head on her knees and wept without ceasing. But the man said, I am going out. I must see the bird quite close. Oh, don't go, said the woman. I feel as if the whole house were shaking and on fire. The man went out and looked at the bird, gathered together all my bones, tied them in a silken handkerchief, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Kai-wit, kai-wit, what a beautiful bird am I. On this, the bird let the golden chain fall, and it fell exactly round the man's neck, and so exactly round that it fitted beautifully. Then he went in and said, well, just look what a fine bird that is, and what a handsome gold chain he has given me, and how pretty he is. But the woman was terrified, and fell down on the floor in the room, and her cap fell off of her head. Then sang the bird once more, my mother, she killed me. If only I were 1,000 feet beneath the earth so as to not hear that. My father, he ate me. Then the woman fell down again as if dead. My sister, little Marlinchen. Ah, said Marlinchen, I too will go out and see if the bird will give me anything. And she went out, gathered together all my bones, tied them in a silk handkerchief. Then he threw down the shoes to her, laid them beneath the juniper tree. Kai-wit, what a beautiful bird am I. Then she was light-hearted and joyous, and put on the new red shoes, and danced and leaped into the house. Ah, said she, I was so sad when I went out, and now I am so light-hearted. That is a splendid bird. He has given me a pair of red shoes. Well, said the woman, and sprang to her feet, and her hair stood up like flames of fire. I feel as if the world were coming to an end. I, too, will go out and see if my heart feels lighter. And as she went out the door, crash! The bird threw down the millstone on her head, and she was entirely crushed by it. The father and Marlinchen heard what had happened, and went out, and smoke and flames and fire were rising. But when that was over, there stood the little brother, and he took his father and Marlinchen by the hand, and all three were right glad. And they went into the house for dinner, and ate. Yeah, I've got some things to say. I've got one major point, but let me first... The mom just dies? It doesn't say she died due to childbirth complications. It literally just said she was so happy she died. Okay, I guess that's fine. That makes sense. No, it doesn't. Secondly, no, we'll come back to that. Thirdly, the dad, he sure can pick a woman, am I right? One dies of happiness the moment her child is born. Also, like, what's with, like, they cut themselves and then they look at the snow and they're like, that's aesthetically pleasing. Instead of being like, I just cut myself. It's fine. No, it's just so weird. Like, this isn't the only story that does that. Like, and that's not a great color combination. Like, how is he red as blood? How is he white as snow? Like, is his complexion ruddy and his hair, like, blonde? Is he, like, a ginger and with really pale skin? I don't know. I don't know. They didn't give us the specifics when they should have. Secondly, the dad. Oh, my gosh. Like, the first woman does that, then dies. And the second woman... Oh my gosh. Right? Like, that is, ooh. And then he eats his kid, and he's like, man, this is good stuff. Where did you get this? Like, I'm just gonna keep eating, even though the mom and the sister are just kind of staring at him, like, oh my gosh, are you still eating that? He's like, yo, it's good. I'm just gonna keep eating it. And he does. Also, I'm sorry, like, everyone's like, wow, that's a beautiful song. He is literally just saying how he died. But then at the end he clears it up. He's like, I'm fine. I'm beautiful, aren't I? And everyone's like, wow, yeah, you're beautiful. You're like so pretty. And he's like, yeah, I know. Give me stuff. So I'll sing it again. And then they don't question the first part of the song. You know, my mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. My sister, little Marlin, he gives the name of the sister. Like, at the beginning of his travels, he's close enough to the town that immediately shouldn't have the townspeople been like, wait a second, we know a little Marlin Chin. We know that family. What the heck? Wait. But then they don't. They don't question it. It's fine. I'm just mildly frustrated. I'm like, this is... Okay, you know what also really frustrates me? It's pretty far-fetched. It says he's a beautiful little bird. Little bird. Little. Gold is not light. Like, him carrying a gold chain, that's one thing. I'm like, okay, maybe he could do it. Him carrying people-sized shoes. Like, maybe I'll buy it. Maybe, I don't know. But then he carries a millstone. That, like, is like, yeah, and it crushed the woman, obviously, because that's what millstones do. But the bird, no, the bird is fine. Like, I get that he's magic, because the boy, like, literally just done, like he got eaten, but now he's not eaten at the end. Because of, like, Juniper Tree magic. I'm sorry. Ugh. Like, I don't. But the bird's fine. He carries this millstone. Those things are massive. They're so big and heavy. Like, it takes 20 men to like make it go around. But the little bird is fine. He's fine. Okay, so here's what, let's go back to the crazy stepmom, you know? Okay. First off, she's a terrible person. We'll get further into that later, obviously, because this is my main point. She's, like, okay, she claims she's doing this all for Marlin Chin, right? She's like, this boy's getting in the way of me being the best parent for my daughter, and just, like, her opportunities are less because he exists. Oh my gosh. But then, she psychologically traumatizes Marlin Chin by making her think she killed her brother. Then she's like, we can't tell anybody. It's not cool to ask a kid to keep a secret like that. It's not. Yeah. And, like, it just gives you uneasy, like, some secrets are like, okay, we're having a surprise party for your Aunt Susan. And so don't tell her that we're giving her a surprise party. That's acceptable. Like, that's fine. But, like, big, heavy secrets like that, no. She's a terrible person! She makes, like, the Cinderella stepmother and Snow White, like, stepmom or whatever, she makes them look like pretty okay parents. You know? Like, it just really bugs me that she's like, I'm doing this for my child, and then turns around and is like, psychological trauma, child. Because I actually don't care about you. Surprise plot twist. Okay, it mentions the devil a lot in here. And this is what I wanted to end on. This is my big point. My big point, if you will. Is that she had all this pent-up, frustrated feeling that she didn't get out in a healthy manner. And so then it was really easy for a whim or the devil or whatever you want to call it to possess her. She's like, you know what? We're doing this. No regrets. All the regrets. Because it says later that she's like, I feel as if the world's about to end. Come into that in a second. I would like to make a point that, yeah, if you don't get out your frustrations and your... Because everybody dislikes somebody at some point. Everybody gets frustrated with somebody at some point. If you don't get that, if you're like, no, I can't feel frustrated ever. No, like it's bad. Yeah, it's not a great thing, but as you've seen, the longer you keep it inside you, the worse things it does to you and the people around you. Yeah. I mean, I'm not insinuating that you're gonna go and do this, but like you could end up doing something you really regret. Right? Right. So find a healthy way to deal with that. Maybe you write it all down in a letter and then shred it. Cathartic. Maybe you talk to somebody about it. Like you just like be like, yo friend, I need to vent. And you just like, this person or this thing that happened. You just get it all out and your mind's like, well, you feel better? Yeah, I feel better. I feel like I'm not going to do anything I regret. Yeah. Or, your dog, or your cat, or just, just find a way to get it out. Write a story about it, and then here's the thing. If you do, write a letter, or don't send it to that person, unless this is this is a relationship you need to fix. But edit that letter first. You want to put your best foot forward if you're trying to fix a relationship. Not this angry, I hate you letter for all these reasons, now let's be friends. No, don't do that. No, bad, doesn't work. And then, don't publish it online either. You're trying to get the bad feeling out and not do anything you regret. Instead of, be like, oh, I feel better. Now publish it online for everybody to see how terrible they are. No! Don't do that. Bad. Okay, last thing I wanted to say. But yeah, get it out. Otherwise, you might do something you might regret, like cyberbullying or just being a general terrible person and then regretting it later. To that regret, the mom says things like, I feel uneasy, I feel anxious, I feel like the world is literally going to end. I feel as if everything was on fire because she regrets what she did. Because no matter how good it feels in the moment, no matter how well it works out in the moment, you'll probably feel really bad about it later. Mm-hmm. So the mom and the dad and the sister are like, yeah, this bird's pretty dope. This bird's legit. Let's go outside and see it. Because the sister at first is really struggling. from that psychological trauma. Thanks, Mom. And then he goes, so the dad's like, yeah, this bird seems dope. And he goes outside, he's like, I just got this gold chain. And then like the sister's like, oh, maybe I'll feel better if I work through some of this trauma that my mom gave me. And confront this bird. And she's like, dope, I got these shoes. Okay, so the mom, here's what I want to point out. If you've done something, if you've done something that you are like, about, but you're like, it's fine, and then you push it aside, you're like, you'll be fine. You might start to see that everywhere. Like, literally everywhere. In book covers, in, like, movies, in songs, in, like, street signs. Like, if you are if you're trying to repress this thing that you did or said, or these feelings you have of hate or otherwise towards a person, repression tends to just, like, if you have a spring and then you, like, touch it and it's just, like, normal size and it'll move up and down a little bit, but it'll be fine. But if you've scrunched that spring, like, way down, it's going to spring up and everywhere. Everywhere. Like, yeah. And then, I've had that happen because, I mean, we've all done things we regret. Some worse than others. And yeah, it totally does. Like, you'll be sitting there and you'll be fine, and then a teacher will say something totally does not relate, does not apply at all, and you're thinking about it and you're like, oh gosh, I'm gonna be sick. I really shouldn't have taken that cookie and then lied about it. Whatever it is, And then, like, you'll just keep seeing it. So, I'm talking to me as much as I am to you. Why are you sitting there with this bad vibe, this bad feeling that just pops up everywhere? Like, if it's that frustration with that person, get it out. Get it out somewhere. Like, again, like, somewhere healthy and not harming you or another person or whatever. But, like, find a way to just, like, let it out. Just expel it from your being. And if you were, like, nobody likes feeling bad. Okay, then. Okay. Most people don't like feeling bad. I mean, like, we all have that little, like, sometimes we want to feel bad. Whatever. Why are you letting, like, just sit there and you feel bad and you repress it, because then, why? Just, find a way to get it out, Because otherwise you will keep seeing it everywhere. Like, some secrets are bigger than others, and some regrets are bigger than others, and so you might not feel safe at the moment to get it out there. And in that case, don't like 100% get it out there, but, like, maybe write yourself a letter, and then shred it if need be, or just talk to someone you do feel safe with. But, like, do not listen to me, who does not know your situation 112%, and then be like, sure, I'll do this thing, but, like, you knew it wasn't the best idea. So get it out, get that, like, expel the bad feeling, but do it safely. Don't make another thing you'll regret, Yeah. Yeah, I feel, whew, that was a lot. Okay. Well, thank thank you for joining us for another Happily Ever After, or Not So Happily Ever After. That's up for you to decide, and whatever you decide is valid. Because you're valid. You are. You're valid. Either way, this is the end of the episode, so tune in later and we can learn more and turn a new page together. And I'll stop the video myself.